Imagine receiving a letter so extraordinary, so impossibly grand, that it sets an entire civilization chasing a ghost for 500 years. It arrived in 1165 AD, circulating through royal courts and Vatican halls like wildfire. It claimed to be written by a Christian king of breathtaking power, a monarch named Prester John, ruling a paradise beyond the known world. A kingdom overflowing with gold, exotic beasts, fountains of eternal youth, and millions of faithful Christian subjects waiting, the letter said, to join forces with Europe and crush Islam forever. Kings mobilized, hopes wrote back. Explorers risked everything, their ships, their sanity, their lives, crossing deserts and oceans in desperate pursuit of this magnificent ally. But here's the twist that history almost buried. The letter was almost certainly a forgery, and yet the search it ignited changed the entire world anyway. So who wrote it? What did the searchers actually find? And what happens when humanity chases a beautiful lie straight into the jaws of extraordinary truth? To understand why a single forged letter could move empires, you have to understand medieval Europe's state of mind in 1165 AD. The Crusades were grinding, brutal, and increasingly desperate. Christian armies had captured Jerusalem in 1099. But holding it was a different nightmare entirely. The Islamic world pressed from every direction, militarily sophisticated, politically united in ways European kingdoms simply were not. Morale was fracturing. Resources were bleeding dry. And ordinary people, kings and clergy alike, shared one exhausting, burning question. Was there no one who could help? Then the letter appeared. Addressed to Byzantine Emperor Manuel I and Pope Alexander III, it described a realm somewhere beyond Persia, east of everything familiar and terrifying. Prester John, its supposed author, called himself Lord of Lords, ruling 72 kingdoms. His land contained rivers running with precious stones, a magical mirror that revealed threats across his entire empire, and a table carved from solid emerald where he dined, with 12 archbishops daily. It was, in the most precise historical sense, exactly what Europe desperately wanted to hear. The Vatican didn't laugh. Pope Alexander III wrote a formal reply in 1177, dispatching his personal physician to deliver it. A letter that heartbreakingly never reached anyone because Prester John's kingdom didn't exist to receive it. But the dream had already been planted, and dreams, especially ones wrapped in religious fervor and political desperation, are almost impossible to kill with mere facts. The hunt was on, and it would last 5 centuries. The first and most fundamental problem searchers faced was almost comically simple. Nobody knew where to look. The letter itself offered deliberately vague geography, somewhere beyond the Muslim world, somewhere east of everything known. It was conveniently, suspiciously unverifiable, but that vagueness didn't stop anyone. It simply meant the legend could survive. Every failed search by quietly relocating itself. Early medieval missionaries and diplomats pointed toward Central Asia. And here, something genuinely fascinating emerged from the fog of myth, because Nestorian Christian communities actually existed throughout Central Asia and the Mongol Empire. Figures like Togrul Khan, a powerful Mongol chieftain with documented Christian connections, almost certainly seeded the original legend. Real Christian kings existed in the East, just not the paradise described. When 13th century missionaries like William of Rubruck rode deep into Mongol territory, and returned empty-handed, Europe simply refused to accept failure. The kingdom must be further, in India, perhaps, where ancient tradition claimed Saint Thomas the Apostle had personally established Christianity centuries earlier. The stakes couldn't have been higher. This wasn't merely curiosity. This was geopolitical survival. A powerful Christian ally flanking the Islamic world from the east could theoretically reverse the Crusades' collapse entirely. Entire national strategies pivoted on finding Prester John. Portugal's King John II became borderline obsessed, weaving the search directly into his kingdom's exploration agenda, funding expeditions, simultaneously seeking sea routes to Asia, and the legendary Christian king. The legend had stopped being a story. It had become a mission of civilization. In 1487, King John II made his most audacious move yet, dispatching two remarkable men simultaneously on separate routes toward the east. One sailed around Africa. The other, a quietly extraordinary explorer named Par Oda Covilla, traveled overland through Egypt, Arabia, and India disguised variously as a merchant and a Muslim pilgrim, gathering intelligence with extraordinary courage and precision. Covilla's journey reads like something invented by an adventure novelist. He moved through Alexandria, Cairo, and Aden, cities where European Christians traveled at genuine mortal risk. He reached the Indian coast, observing trade routes and ports, with a spy's meticulous eye. Then, following accumulated rumors and the southward drift of the legend, he turned toward Africa, toward a kingdom that was unlike every previous destination, genuinely, profoundly Christian: Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church traced its roots to the 4th century, older than most European Christianity. Its emperors, the Negus, were anointed Christian monarchs ruling ancient, sophisticated civilizations with elaborate court ceremonies, stunning highland churches carved directly from living rock, and a religious tradition so deep it claimed to house the original Ark of the Covenant itself. Around 1490 to 1493, Covilla reached the Ethiopian court of Emperor Eskender, becoming one of the first Europeans to make sustained, meaningful contact with this kingdom. What he found was genuinely extraordinary, not a fantasy, but something arguably more remarkable, a real, enduring Christian civilization that had survived and thrived, completely unknown to Europe, surrounded by Islamic neighbors, standing alone for over 1,000 years. He sent his reports back. The world held its breath. When full Portuguese diplomatic missions arrived in Ethiopia in the early 16th century, the reaction across Europe was electric, almost euphoric. They had found him. They had finally found Prester John, the Ethiopian emperor, powerful, Christian, ruling an ancient and wealthy kingdom, matched enough of the legend that Europeans desperately wanted to believe. Maps were redrawn. The title, Prester John of the Indies, was formally applied to the Ethiopian Negus in official Portuguese documents. For one breathless, extraordinary moment, 5 centuries of searching seemed vindicated. But reality moved in quickly, and it was sobering. Ethiopia was not a paradise of inexhaustible riches and magical mirrors. It was a proud, real nation fighting for its very survival against the Islamic Adil Sultanate, a conflict so brutal that in the 1520s, the Adil general Ahmed ibn Ibrahim al-Ghazi would burn monasteries, massacre populations, and nearly extinguish Ethiopian Christianity entirely. The Portuguese military alliance that followed was historically significant. Portuguese musketeers genuinely helped turn the tide, but it revealed two struggling nations helping each other, not Europe rescued by a divine superpower. The legend shattered against the truth like glass against stone. There was no fountain of youth, no emerald dining table, no 72 kingdoms. The Ark of the Covenant remained, as always, a matter of faith rather than confirmed fact. What existed was simultaneously less than the dream and more than Europe had ever imagined. A civilization of staggering antiquity, genuine faith, and fierce resilience that had never needed European mythology to justify its existence. By the 17th century, as Portuguese, Dutch, and English cartographers mapped coastlines and interiors with ruthless precision, the geographical space available for Prester John's kingdom simply evaporated. There was nowhere left to hide a paradise that large. The legend, quietly and without ceremony, died. But consider what chasing that beautiful forgery actually produced. Portuguese obsession with finding Prester John's kingdom directly accelerated the age of discovery. The route around Africa's Cape of Good Hope, one of history's most consequential navigational achievements, was pioneered partly in service of this search. Early European-Ethiopian diplomatic relations, which would shape centuries of Red Sea politics, were established by explorers hunting a myth. Nestorian Christian communities in Asia were documented. Trade routes across 3 continents were mapped and open. The forged letter of 1165 AD arguably did more to reshape the world than most genuine royal proclamations ever managed. And Ethiopia itself endures, its ancient churches still standing, the Negus tradition stretching across millennia, the Ethiopian Orthodox faith, alive and practiced by millions today. Not the paradise of legend, something more durable, history's truth, which outlasts every story ever told about it. Prester John was never real, but everything found while searching for him absolutely was. And that's the part that genuinely amazes me, that a letter almost certainly written as medieval propaganda sent real explorers across real deserts and oceans and accidentally rewrote the map of the entire world. So I want to ask you directly, do you think the person who forged that letter in 1165 had any idea what they were unleashing? Was it cynical manipulation, desperate inspiration, or something stranger? Drop your honest theory in the comments. I read every single one, and this community always surprises me. If this story grabbed you, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find this kind of history, the kind that gets buried under textbooks and deserves to breathe again. Subscribe if you're staying, because next time, we're going even deeper into forgotten legends that quietly shaped the modern world. And the next one is arguably even more shocking than this. The myth is dead. The story never dies. I'll see you there.